As I mentioned in previous dev blogs, there are 3 things I want in place before trying to attract other like-minded developers to this project. Procedurally generated and scattered buildings, procedurally generated terrain, and an enemy that can kill you and also be killed by you. Since the last update, the procedurally generated buildings now have a chance to spawn with nuked top floors, as you can see by the damaged masonry and the sticking out bits of rebar. It seemed odd to me that a post-nuclear city would have entirely intact buildings, so now some of them aren't. In previous blogs, I talked about how I used Xylan's H-Terrain plugin for Godot to handle the procedural generation of the terrain. However, as I went on, I noticed it was generating errors upon loading the project, and it didn't seem to generate different terrain topology when using the publicly available procedural generation script. Therefore, I made the decision to retire H-Terrain, and this is by no means to show disrespect to Xylan, who seems to have gone on to bigger and better things if his channel was anything to go by. It just illustrates the danger of using other people's plugins, which need to be many things to many people, and there's no knowing when the author is going to move on to other things and not continue to update them. So that meant that I had to rebuild the terrain generation system from scratch. So what I've got now is based heavily on code by YouTube's very own Ditzy Ninja. The code is much shorter, and I can more or less say that I understand the exact role of each section in the code, although some of the individual terms and what they do is still beyond me at the moment. I still need to tackle enemies within the open wastes and their AI. I've gone through another YouTuber, Mrs. tutorials. You can see here that I've got some classic Doom-style sprite enemies from Realm 667, which are these sort of monk-looking hooded dudes, which to my eyes could quite easily be post-apocalyptic cult. A hurdle that I've got to tackle in coming weeks is how to generate navigational meshes from code, and if I can do that successfully, that means I get access to Godot's impressive pathfinding algorithms, although it remains to be seen how easy it is to generate navigational meshes on multi-story buildings, such as the one that I generated at runtime by the current build of the Open Wastes. Another potential bottleneck is how processor intensive generating nav meshes at runtime will be for an entire city of buildings. So to wrap up, in upcoming dev blogs, I'd like to talk about the story I've got brewing up here for the Open Wastes, at least for my branch of it, assuming other people take interest in the core idea and spin it off in their direction, including their own stories. And then, of course, future blogs will also talk about the process I've been making on the procedural generation of nav meshes. And of course, as an extension of that, the progress of the very first enemy AI and their interaction with the player. See you then.